Patrick Mahomes spoke on Hollywood Brown today about how quickly he's picked up the offense and shared why he thinks Hollywood's going to have a great year. So I've got to talk about that, the Chiefs signing a new defensive lineman and releasing a pretty surprising player to make room for him. But first, how about those? First up, mandatory minicamp is officially over, with Andy Reid saying they did some conditioning today at practice and things went well. The practice was closed to the media though, so we got no footage, none of that. However, players look to be in good shape, and the foundation, said Andy Reid, has been laid for training camp. The Chiefs have their Super Bowl ring ceremony this evening, then most players and coaches will take a little time off before training camp kicks off on Sunday, July 23rd. The coaches may take a bit more time off than the others, with Andy Reid noting most players will only take like a week off before they start ramping up their training and workouts to make sure they are ready for training camp, because it is not easy. Now, Mahomes and Big Red are basically wired the same way and don't really take any days off. Mahomes said he's not the type of guy that likes to sit around. He gets restless, so he's always working on something football related when he's not with the fam, and the most he does for a break is go play golf. Meanwhile, Andy Reid either spends the mornings, evenings, or both of those slots drawing up plays, something he loves to do and will even do while he's on vacation. And again, while the ring ceremony is tonight, Mahomes, like basically everybody else on the team, is not focused or concerned about this three-peat. It's a new year, and every single week is going to be a big week. The goal is to just get better and focus one game at a time, 1 week at a time. They want to start strong this season, as the opponents from the jump are tough, learning from the mistakes of last year to be even better offensively. They learned a lot from it. Then, of course, have new weapons to deploy, such as Hollywood Brown, and trust me, we'll get to him more later. For Mahomes, though, OTAs and mandatory minicamp has been one of the better ones he can remember. The defense is playing with confidence, coming off of a great season with lots of guys returning. Meanwhile, the offense came off of a down year and are aiming to bounce back strong this season. There's been a lot of competition between both sides, and it's helped bring the best out of everyone early on this offseason. In fact, this is the most comfortable Mahomes said he's felt early on in the offseason, from reading coverages to identifying the blitz, checking down when needed, as well as pushing the ball deep down the field. Big Red has really been pushing him to throw deep, even making sure to let Mahomes know about it when he chooses not to.
I think it's been cool that we've been trying. Like, Coach Reid's back to my old days. He's forcing me to push the ball down the field. If I don't, he throws little jabs at me, like, "Oh, you want to throw the check down here?" And I'm like, I got you, Coach. We're gonna push it. And so it's been fun. It's been a great camp, and like I said, I love the competing. I think that's been the biggest thing, is competing. Both sides of the ball has been awesome.
The deep ball, yes please, and thank you very much. Big Red shared that this is the time to test the receivers and see what you can get away with, wanting the QBs to opt for the more difficult, challenging throws, then start refining things as the weeks go on and the season gets closer. And regarding the wide receiver room, it's really been a passing camp so far, so this is what we talk about the most. It's shaping up really well so far. Mahomes said Jay Watt, Sky, and the others have been doing a great job competing. Rice obviously is stepping up here as he prepares for year 2. Then Mahomes said he's excited to get Worthy out there a bit more since he's sadly been sidelined, but knows he's been taking the mental reps as he prepares and gets ready to roll come training camp. Then he complimented Hollywood Brown's ability to learn this offense quickly, saying he came in prepared and is already making plays. In fact, Mahomes is surprised that Hollywood Brown is even here because of how talented he is.
Honestly, I don't know how he's here in our place because of how talented he is, and I can just see that it's going to be a great season for him, and it's to take pressure off other guys, and I think it's to help get Trav open, help get Rasheed open. It's going to help get all these guys open because you're going to have that speed threat that can run routes and do all those different things. So I'm very excited to get him out there in the regular season.
Well, Patrick, you aren't the only one that's excited to see him out there during the regular season. Trust me. Mahomes then went on to describe an example of how quickly Hollywood is learning, noting a practice from a few weeks ago when Spags sent a zero blitz that forced Mahomes to toss one up for Hollywood, yet Hollywood didn't adjust his route to the blitz in expectation that Mahomes would let one fly or at least be off his original route. Well, one of the deep balls for a touchdown at yesterday's practice was actually a very similar situation in which Spags sent the house and Mahomes let the ball go deep in Hollywood's direction. And not only did Hollywood remember what to do, adjusting accordingly when he saw the blitz coming down, but he caught a deep ball for a touchdown. And yes, it's still early in the offseason, I get that, but last year was an atrocious year with Mahomes and his pass catchers specifically deep down the field like this. There were multiple factors contributing to this, but one of the big ones to me was definitely the receivers not being in sync with Mahomes and his expectations based on the coverages shown once the ball was snapped. And if Hollywood can continue to be that reliable option for Mahomes, even if his route initially isn't supposed to go long, Hollywood truly has the speed to burn basically anyone with him in coverage and do some major damage this season. Let me know in the comments. Are you guys also excited for Hollywood Brown, thinking he's going to do a bunch of damage? Let me know. Will he get 1,000 yards or more, or nah? Next up, before I get to the new defensive lineman the Chiefs signed today, Andy Reid spent a little time during his presser giving some clarity on players dealing with injuries. He said Joe Thuney is working his tail off and getting better, though he's not sure if he will be ready come training camp.
We've got to see exactly how that thing works out. I'm not sure, we've got to get clearance from the doctor and all that whole process that goes on as we go, but he's made good progress, and he'll be one of those guys that's kind of right on the border whether he can go or not go from the healing part of it.
However, Andy did say that for the regular season, things are looking a bit more optimistic.
For the regular season, yeah. I think we should be okay, unless there's a setback somewhere, yeah.
So, Thuney may participate in training camp, though if he does, it could very well be pretty limited. But come September, Andy said barring any setbacks, he should be good to go, which is great news because Thuney is one of the centerpieces of the entire offensive line. Then when you combine the fact that the left tackle spot will either be a rookie in Kingsley Suamataia or another young guy entering year 2 in Wanye Morris, I mean, unless they bring in a veteran, we'll see about that. But his role there, talking about Joe Thuney at left guard, is only going to be that much more important to help prop up the new starter, whoever that may be. Then we got a bit of injury updates on players we hadn't yet previously. Linebacker Leo Chanel tweaked his back in some capacity. Don't know when, but he did tweak his back and hasn't worked in a little while here. And then Derek Nottie is dealing with an elbow issue. They've both been very limited in practices, or more recently present but not practicing. I think it was Aaron Ladd or PJ Green it was yesterday said he hasn't seen Leo Chanel practicing at any of the media looks so far this offseason. However, Andy said Leo Chanel is close to returning and Nottie is progressing as well as he aims to get his range of motion back in that elbow. I don't know why I'm doing this like I have any clue what I'm talking about, but I think both of them should be ready come training camp. And then Xavier Worthy should be also. Big Red noted he's getting better, will continue getting treatment, and seemed optimistic Worthy should be good to go come camp. And Worthy himself recently echoed the same thing, telling beat reporters basically just that. And then the Chiefs officially signed one of the 4 defensive linemen that tried out for the team during minicamp, and that is defensive tackle Alex Gubner from Montana. According to Charles Goldman of A to Z Sports, the Chiefs brought him in as an undrafted free agent tryout during rookie minicamp back in early May, but the only player signed following that practice session was wide receiver Jaron Hayek. However, the Chiefs were obviously still interested in Gubner because they invited him back to try out during mandatory minicamp this week, beating out the 3 others that competed along with him. He signed, the other 3 did not, so they must have liked what they've seen. And to make room for Gubner, by the way, Kansas City actually released BYU punter Ryan Rehkow, who was battling it out for the starting punter role against Matt the punt god Ariza. And this is a battle I thought might go on a bit longer, maybe even through training camp, but hey, the Chiefs must have liked what they saw in Ariza, with Butker weighing in about him as a placeholder as well, because that definitely had to have played a factor in that decision. So yeah, that's definitely a surprising move. Ryan Rehkow was one of the best punters of this draft class, but Matt Ariza must have got the job done. Anyway, back to Gubner. Every time I say Gubner, I think Govna. Hello, Govna. He was a Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year last season, playing a major factor on the defense as both a stout run defender and a dominant force rushing the passer. He's 6'3", but a bit light at just 284 pounds, I believe, because according to the study done last year, the average weight for a defensive tackle is around 310 pounds. The Chiefs do have a couple other lighter guys like Turk Wharton, who's 280, but he's a bit shorter at 6'1". Then there's Matt Dickerson, who's 6'5", and he's just 298 pounds. The other D tackles on the roster are Chris Jones, who's 310 pounds, Fabian Lovett, who's 316, Derek Nottie is 317, and then big old Mike Pennell is a whopping 330. Good God. So while Gubner is definitely on the smaller side, he definitely has the athleticism to make up for it. He posted an 8.6 RAS with elite testing in the 40-yard dash, 20-yard split, 10-yard split, and 3 cone drills. And that bodes well for him and his ability to rush the passer from the interior of the D-line, which is something he was successful at in college. So hopefully it translates, obviously, if he ends up making the roster. He redshirted in 2018, and in the 4 seasons he did play, he appeared in 58 games, racking up 172 tackles with 28.5 for loss. He then racked up 10.5 sacks as well as 4 interceptions and 8 passes defense. We know the Chiefs D-line, with George Karlaftis being a former water polo champion, love to bat passes down or up into the air, so that is definitely an intriguing stat. Then his best year was arguably his last one in 2023, when he had 45 tackles, 9.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, and 2 passes defensed. So while he does have an uphill climb to make the 53-man roster, the Chiefs have clearly shown interest in him. He's now on the roster, and we will see what happens. I mean, they definitely need the D-line help right now, with Derek Nottie still nursing that elbow injury, Aminihu rehabbing his ACL, and then BJ Thompson, his status is up in the air due to the craziness that happened with him last week. But with all that being said, let me know in the comments down below. Do you think Gubner is maybe more of a camp body? Could he make the 53-man roster? Or maybe they try and sneak him onto the practice squad? Either way, I'll keep you updated every step of the way. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?